Hail dear viewers and listeners. I hope you enjoy life. After my mesmerizing time in Croatia, my journey led me to Madagascar, an island of unparalleled wildlife, where the land breathes life into magical and informative tales. Madagascar, an island of myths and mysteries, held secrets that could only be discovered by those who dared to enter its depths. The vast forests and winding rivers whispered ancient stories of creatures that had roamed these lands long before human feet had set foot on its shores. The island, with its dense jungles, towering baobab trees, and cliffs that touched the heavens, was a place where time seemed to stand still, and where every tree, every stone, and every breeze carried the weight of centuries. It was here, amidst the rich, untamed landscape, that I encountered the story of Armand, a man whose life would be forever changed by the unforgiving forces of nature and the haunting power of his own ambitions. Before you start, please subscribe to my channel and activate the bell button to find out the next stories. In the meantime, I will be happy if you comment and like it. Let's go to start the story. The Armand story. Armand was born into a small village nestled between the towering cliffs and the thick, misty jungles of Madagascar's heartland. His village, Anasaib, was a quiet one, its people living simple lives, bound by the rhythm of the land. They were farmers, healers, hunters, and gatherers, each with a deep reverence for the world around them. But Armand was different from the others. From a young age, he had been consumed by a desire for greatness, a desire that set him apart from his peers. While others found peace in the natural beauty of their surroundings, Armand only found frustration. He longed for more wealth, more power, more control. He saw himself not as a humble villager, but as someone destined for something far greater. His father, Claudio, a skilled and respected hunter, often told him stories of the great beasts that roamed the jungles of Madagascar, creatures that were said to possess powers beyond comprehension. But it was one creature in particular that captivated Armand, the Tsingy dragon. It was a creature of legend, spoken of only in whispers. It was said to dwell deep within the ancient heart of the jungle, in the Tsingy de Bemaraha, a vast, labyrinthine stone forest of sharp pinnacles and hidden caves. The dragon, with its silver scales and fire-breathing abilities, was a creature of immense power, capable of granting immortality to those who could defeat it. Armand became obsessed with this legend. To him, the dragon was not just a creature of myth, it was the key to unlocking his destiny. He believed that if he could capture or kill the Tsingy dragon, he would become the most powerful man in Madagascar, and perhaps, in the world. His father, however, warned him against such folly. The jungle does not belong to men, Claudio told him. It gives life, but it can also take it away. The Tsingy dragon is not a prize for the taking. It is a force of nature, and nature will not be tamed by the hands of a man. But Armand's desire for greatness had grown too strong, and he could not be swayed. The idea of possessing such power consumed him, and so, one day, without a word to anyone, he gathered his tools, packed his belongings, and set out for the Tsingy de Bemaraha, determined to find the dragon and claim its power. The journey was treacherous, for the Tsingy de Bemaraha was no ordinary place. It was a wilderness unlike any Armand had ever encountered, its jagged stone pillars stretched like teeth into the sky, its rivers ran with fierce, rushing torrents, and its dense forests were home to all manner of dangerous creatures. But Armand pressed on, convinced that his destiny was tied to this mythical beast. For days, he wandered through the jungle, battling hunger, fatigue, and the relentless heat. His only companions were the distant calls of unseen animals, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional echo of his own thoughts. The deeper he ventured, the more isolated he became. There were no signs of civilization, no villages, no other travelers. It was as if the jungle itself had swallowed him whole, and for the first time, Armand began to understand the true scale of the forces he was dealing with. As he neared the heart of the jungle, Armand's senses heightened. He could feel the air change, the ground beneath his feet growing cooler, the trees becoming more ancient and twisted. And then, one morning, after several weeks of grueling travel, he stumbled upon something that took his breath away, a cave, its entrance guarded by ancient stone carvings that depicted strange, otherworldly creatures. The air around the cave seemed charged, as if alive with an energy that was both alluring and terrifying. Inside, the darkness was thick, and Armand could barely see. But his heart raced with excitement, knowing that he was close. He felt his way deeper into the cave, the walls cool and damp to the touch. And then, suddenly, he heard a sound, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to shake the very stones around him. He froze, heart pounding. A figure appeared before him, its scales shimmering in the dim light. It was the Tsingy dragon, a creature of such beauty and power that Armand could hardly comprehend its existence. Its wings stretched wide, and its eyes glowed with an intelligence that sent chills down his spine. It was as if the dragon had been waiting for him. Armand's instincts took over. He raised his spear and charged at the dragon, shouting in fury and fear. The dragon's fiery breath shot toward him, singeing his clothes and nearly knocking him off his feet. But Armand was undeterred. He swung his spear with all his strength, aiming for the dragon's heart. The battle was fierce, the dragon's movements swift and deadly. Armand's every strike was met with a fierce counter, and soon, the cave was filled with the acrid scent of burning flesh and the sound of metal scraping against scales. But as the fight raged on, Armand began to realize something. He was not just battling a creature. He was battling something far greater. The dragon was not merely a beast, it was a force of nature, a guardian of the jungle, its very existence tied to the balance of life in Madagascar. The more Armand fought, the more he felt a deep, primal connection to the land itself, as if the jungle itself was watching him. Finally, with one last, desperate thrust, Armand drove his spear into the dragon's chest. The creature let out a deafening roar, its body convulsing as the light around it grew blinding. The earth shook, and the cave trembled. With a final, agonized cry, the dragon fell, its body collapsing onto the cave floor. For a moment, there was silence. Armand stood over the creature's lifeless body, panting with exhaustion and elation. He had done it. He had slain the Tsingy dragon. He had won. But as he gazed down at the creature, he felt a strange emptiness. The power he had sought so desperately did not come. Instead, he was overcome by a feeling of dread. The moment the dragon's life force left its body, the jungle around Armand began to change. The ground trembled beneath his feet, and the air grew thick with an oppressive weight. The trees began to groan, their branches twisting as if in agony. And then, from the depths of the jungle, a terrible sound echoed, a cry of anguish, followed by the cries of countless other creatures, all calling out in unison. Suddenly, the cave entrance collapsed, trapping Armand inside. The stone walls began to crack and crumble, and the very earth seemed to rise up against him. The jungle was not silent anymore, it was alive with rage. Armand realized, too late, that his victory had come at a terrible cost. As he tried to escape, he was met by the spirits of the jungle, creatures of myth and legend, rising from the ground like wraiths. They were the guardians of the land, and they had come to reclaim what Armand had taken. The jungle had been wounded by his actions, and now it was time for the price to be paid. In a final, brutal moment, Armand was torn apart by the very forces he had sought to control. His body was shattered by the wrath of the jungle, his blood mixing with the earth he had once sought to dominate. In the end, Armand's quest for power and dominance over nature led to his destruction. The jungle, in all its wild beauty and terror, does not bend to the will of men. It gives life, but it can also take it away. The greatest power does not lie in conquering the natural world, but in respecting and understanding it. Those who seek to dominate it will always pay the price. The greatest power lies not in domination, but in understanding and respecting the forces that shape the world around us. Until next time, dear listeners, may we always learn from the choices we make and the consequences they bring. Be in the shelter of wisdom.